Hi guys, welcome to the shack, and tonight I'm going to be playing with the CO2 a little more. It is currently holding the title for the deepest cut in the clack shack. I have successfully cut 3/4 inch pine with the machine. It isn't always pretty, but it will do it. It has more than adequate power. I've got my machine configured so that I can make sure I don't accidentally go over that recommended 60%, and I'm still able to cut 3/4 inch material. So that's a win in my book. So what I have done is I have went into Lightburn, and I have set my device settings on the so that the machine cannot go above a certain output. And I used a page from the book, and I made myself a little handy cheat sheet here. I used a page from the book that Monport puts in there, basically where they reference using the amp gauge to determine the output of the machine. And to get to 60% output, according to the literature that they provided that is in the book, the amp gauge should be at 21 milliamps to be at 60%. But I don't want to be at 60%. I want to be less than 60%. So what I've done is I went in and messed with my settings in Lightburn and changed it so that the machine will not go above 17 milliamps on the gauge here. And I've got this all the way up, and I went into Lightburn and edited those settings. And when I put Lightburn at 100% now, the most that it will go is 17 milliamps. Which, if you look at the numbers that Monport provided, that is going to give me over here around 45% power output, which is between the 20 and the 60 that they said to operate in, but it's kind of on the lower end. And like I said, so far I haven't found a need to go any higher than that. I think once I get my air assist nozzle, I think this is going to be more than adequate to cut, I mean, probably all the way up to a 1 inch material. Now, the one thing since I've told you the thing that I like about it, the cutting ability, I'm going to tell you one thing that I don't like and that I wish it was different. And I know if I get a bigger machine that you can get that, but I wish there was a way to raise and lower the bed to adjust the focus instead of having to drop the material down or raise the material up. If you're cutting plywood, if you're cutting 3mm plywood, if you're cutting acrylic, if you're cutting stuff like that, it's fine. But if you're going to be cutting anything thicker than that, you have to drop it down to get the adequate focus. The machine comes with this little tool here, and you're supposed to take this and put it under the bottom of the lens here, on the bottom of the cover, and it's supposed to touch the top of your material. If you do that with around 4mm thick material, it works. But the thing is if the material is thicker than that, you have to put it in this it's got a hole here, and I'll show you what that looks like. It's pretty neat the way they've got it set up. See if I can get you over here where you can see. There we go. I'm gonna try to hold this still. But it's got this little clamping apparatus here. And it works pretty well. I was actually able to make myself a hickory nut jack-o'-lantern. I was up at the chicken pen earlier feeding the chickens, and this little guy fell out of the hickory tree and hit me in the head. And so I made it into kind of a Halloween jack-o'-lantern. So I was thinking, I've got like 10,000 of these things up there around the chicken pen. I could just paint them orange and do that and have a jack-o'-lantern that would never rot, because hickory nuts are very hard. So, but I was able to take and pull this back and clamp my hickory nut in there and hold it still so I could engrave it. So there's that. But with this little contraption here, you're very limited on the size of material that you can put in there. So on my list of things that I want to do is to add a way that I can let the bed down or up. But one more thing that I have noticed with this particular machine, and like I said, the larger ones, I know they have beds that go up and down, and that's not an issue. But this particular machine, doing what I do, is that unless I'm engraving something really, really small, I'm not going to be able to do it with this machine, like on a rotary, because I can't, you can't get enough height. By the time you put the rotary in there, put the whatever it is on top of the rotary, and then go to the set the focus, you're going to be out of space. So that's a limitation of the machine. But like I said, guys, I didn't buy this machine to replace my others, or get this machine to replace my others. This machine was, I wanted to try CO2 out. I wanted to get used to it and learn CO2 lasers before I do bite the bullet and buy something bigger. But, and I know, like I said, this is a very, very budget model. But so far, I'm impressed with it as long as you're working on small stuff. Now, I can put the rotary in here. I can use a rotary with it. But I'm going to be limited to the space of this hole here unless I do some modifications to the chassis and take this bed out and fix that. Nor can I use a honeycomb in here without some major changes. So there's a lot of things that, you know, are negatives for it, but if you're doing smaller stuff and you just need like brute force, because this thing, guys, it's cutting good. It cuts like there ain't no tomorrow. But let me set up one of these 3/4 inch pieces of wood right quick, and I'm going to show you what I can do to it with 7 passes. All right, so because this material is thicker than what this machine will allow for, and let me show you this. Other than my little makeshift air hose, if I put this material in here and I get the little focusing tool that you're supposed to use, I'm a good 1/2 inch above the point of focus. So in order to do something this thick, the only way that you can do it with this machine is it can't be any bigger than this little area here, and you can pull this back. And I like this little contraption here, and it works for these type of situations, but you're limited on what you can engrave with it. Case in point, most all of my charcuterie boards and cutting boards are going to be too big to be able to do this, both thick, wide, everything. So this machine is going to be more of my go-to for thicker material, acrylic, and that kind of stuff. But once you get that in there, I mean, that little latch, it holds it pretty well. And let me power this guy up. One more thing that I did, guys, other than adding my air assist hose in anticipation of my nozzle, I also moved the light. The light was back here on this wall, and it wasn't doing me a whole lot of good in the workspace when I shut the lid. So I moved the light and put it on the lid here, and it illuminates the workspace a lot better now. All I had to do was peel it from the back and stick it up here. Luckily, it hadn't been on there long enough that the sticky stuff came off or anything. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is I am going to take my little jack-o'-lantern face, since I've already got it in here from where I was doing my hickory nut. I think I'm just going to set this up to 7 passes, and I'm going to have this running 5 millimeters per second at 100% output. But remember, guys, I'm not running 100% output. I've got this thing dialed in, and I'll show you the reading when we start. It's going to run 17 milliamps during this burn, because that is my 100%, which is still well below the 21 milliamps, which they say in the book that Monport sent, that is 60%. So I'm staying well below that just to make the tube last longer. And I'm going to run this 7 passes, and we'll see what happens. And if you'll notice the I don't know if you can see it or not. Hang on, can you see that, guys? It's going to run about 17 milliamps through this burn. And 17 is 45% output. So I am well below the recommended 60% output on this machine. And hopefully that'll help the tube last a little longer. And if you can see my water over there, you notice it has a little bit of a yellow tinge to it. I broke down, went ahead and got me some antifreeze and put in the water reservoir to get it to circulate through the machine. And so far, it seems to be working well and shouldn't freeze. The secondary the water temperature gauge has actually been working really well. I think it just doesn't work below 20 degrees because it wasn't on when I first fired the machine up, and then after I've been out here cutting for a little while, it came on, and it's been working ever since. All right, guys, that should be it, as long as my settings were correct. Woo, a little hot. Got a little bit of burning going on right there. But there was apparently a knot or something right here. The one eyeball is not wanting to fall out. So, not sure what happened there. Just a little snug. Had a few little fibers on the back side. A few little pieces right there holding. But yeah, it got really hot on the back side right here for some reason. Got a little smoke damage. But it made it through it, guys. So 3/4 inch material is a little insane to be trying to cut it with a laser. But I wanted to know if it could do it. And yes, it takes 7 passes. But I'm running 15 milliamps or 17 milliamps, which is only 45% of this machine's output. So other than this little flare up on the backside, which may have been because of those pieces, no, not sure what caused that, because that was on the mouth. But yeah, it made it through it, but probably because it's so far out of focus by the time it gets there that it's generating way too much heat. But like I said, I could probably cheat it up and try to get the focal point midways and do a little better. So let me try that. So this is, I've got about a 1/2 inch out of focus. So if I move this to about 1/4 of an inch, let me try, where's my little tool at here? Okay, so I raised it up a pretty substantial amount. My little air assist hose is going to drag because I haven't got my proper nozzle yet. But so I'm going to straighten that up a little bit, and I'm just going to take and get rid of the majority of the face, so this doesn't take as long. So I'm going to ungroup those and delete the ones that I don't want. I'm just going to do one of the eyes, and we'll see if it does any better with the focus raised up. See if I get that burning on the backside, because I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Was it was so bad out of focus by the time it got through the material, it just was building up heat. So let me go ahead and frame this out. Move it over. All right, go ahead and run that one again. And as you can see, or I can see, it's running 17 milliamps on the draw. So like I said, as long as the data that I got from Monport is correct, that should have me sitting at about 45% output of this machine. And it does take a lot of passes, but like I said, guys, this is 3/4 inch material. This is more of a bandsaw or scroll saw material. Oh, I guess that was the problem, guys, because that one failed. And if you look now, I've got about maybe just a little bit more of yellowing on the front, but I got very little scorching on the back. So I'm going to go with the focus was the issue here, because I was 3/4 inches below the focal point of the machine, And by the time it gets there, I mean, it's just going to start generating heat. So I'm going to go with that being the cause of it. I'll do one more little quick burn just to verify that, make sure that wasn't a fluke. So I'm going to try to put that back in about the same location it was. I'm going to shrink this shape down a little bit so it won't take as long. And yes, I do have this machine set to return back to the top left corner after a burn, as I do with all my other machines. All right, 16 milliamps. So, and I was a little concerned that it might get hot doing longer burns and longer engraves, but I did a couple of power boards earlier to try to get the power settings figured out, and it done really well and never got too hot on me. So I think that was a little over concern on my part because they emphasized it so much in the material that come with it. I was just afraid I was going to do that. Oh well, my piece of wood just fell out, guys. So that wasn't even 7 passes. It fell out on 6 passes. So there you go, guys. That's 6 passes. Little scorching on the back side of that one. But like I said, 3/4 inch material, guys. Kind of hard to fault that. All right. So before I forget, these are the panels that I was telling you about that I did, and got me some cut settings. The cut over here, that's 1 pass cuts, and I don't know if it was something with the plywood or what, but I had a little bit of pieces that didn't fall all the way out. But you can see on the back side of that, pretty much. I punched holes through on almost every burn, but not every one of them fell out clean. Those are the only ones that fell out clean. And over here on the engrave, I did a little testing, and you can pause, screenshot that, whatever, if you have this machine or get this machine. But keep in mind, these, when it says 100% output, 100% output, the way I have my machine set up is 15 milliamps or 17 milliamps. So that's going to be 45% output. So when it says 100%, it actually means 45%. I just did that, guys, so I knew I wouldn't tear the machine up by running it too hot. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this piece of material up here, and this is a piece of 0.35 inch, you can see that, or 9mm Chinese fir. And so I'm going to put this up here and do a little cut on it. I'm going to bring this up just a little to try to move the focus down. But I'm going to run this at 10 millimeters per second. And I'm going to run it down to 4 passes. And now I got to get that framed up. I am going to be looking at getting me a camera put on this guy. Let me move that over just a little so it doesn't get on that other one. All right, here we go. 10 millimeters a second, 4 passes, guys. And like I said, my milliamps is running 16 to 17. It kind of bounces, which is going to be the 45%. It didn't fall, but it had a little tiny tag right there holding, if you can see that. But it wasn't much. But I give it a little push and it fell on out. But that is, that's impressive to me, guys. I mean, clean cuts. I mean, I got like almost no scorching on the ones that I've done on that. A little bit of touch up with some really high grit sandpaper, and that would be fixed. All right, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put me a little piece of 4.5 millimeter material up here, and I'm going to run this at 13 millimeters per second, and I'm running it at my 100%, which is actually 45%. And I'm gonna do that same little shape. Actually, I'll make it a little bit bigger so we can see it better. And I'm gonna put it down in the area where it can drop. All right, 13 millimeters per second at 100%, which is technically 40%, 45%. Milliamps is running 17. Didn't quite make it through that piece, so I'm gonna step that up to 2 passes. Just to give it a little bit more power. I could slow the speed down, or I could just add the passes, but I'll do a one pass drop here in just a second to show you. I heard that one fall. So there's the cut with this. It's let me run the speed down to 10. I'm gonna run this at 10 millimeters per second, 100% at 1 pass. Got just 1 or 2 little fuzzies right there holding, but you can see how clean the line is. Got a little bit of yellowing on the front. Like I said, I haven't got my air assist yet, guys, and I feel like once that nozzle gets here, see, it broke clean, but it had a few little fibers back there in the corner holding. But Tuesday, hopefully, the air assist will arrive, and I can no longer have to worry about that. Running it down to 6 millimeters per second, 1 pass. And this, I know this will fall. 17 milliamps. All right, that one fell out of the hole. There's the cut on the front, and there's the cut on the back. Like I said, guys, I'm not, I've got me a little air hose over here, but it doesn't have a nozzle on it, so the air is just kind of blowing on the side. And the only reason I did that is I wanted to go ahead, I had to take the drag chain completely loose from the machine today and run my air line through the drag chain over. I went around the back there, and it came into the front. Secured the airline with some zip ties, and then I had to drill a hole on this side to run the airline out. And I've got the regulator and all the connectors are coming with the nozzle, and they're supposed to be here Tuesday. So I'll actually have the I think the name brand's Cloud Ray. Don't quote me on that. But I'll have that nozzle to where all I've got to do is take the lens off, just screw the lens off just like I do when I clean it, and put the lens in the new machine, the new nozzle, and screw it back on there. All right, guys, I'm gonna cut short for tonight. Like I said, I've been out here playing with this thing. I have burnt up so much scrap today trying to get the settings dialed in and trying to figure out how to set the machine up to where I can safely run it without having a lapse in memory. Because going from a diode going to this machine, I was afraid that if I didn't set a software or hardware protection somewhere, that I would forget and run that power setting way too high and damage the machine. And I don't want to do that. Like I said, I have a place for this thing. I have a need for it with acrylic, some wood if I need to cut any real thick wood pieces, because I've thought about a couple of things that I could see me using this for. That would be very, very useful. And one of those things is a lot of times people want me to make painted signs for them, and they want to use cutout letters. Typically, I make those letters 7 inches. With the power and the speed of this machine, if they're only wanting the letters cut out of plywood, then of course this guy would be really fast at doing it, and it wouldn't take a whole lot of work. And so that's something I could do with it. But the time that I know for sure it would benefit me is if I have something that I want to cut out of a piece of 3/4 inch material, or a piece of 1/2 inch material, 3/8 material, something like that. Because a lot of times I do want to cut out shapes out of a piece of, let's say, a piece of a white oak, or a piece of pine, or a piece of cedar. And I want it thicker than what I can cut with my other machines. And most of the time, those are going to be smaller things that would fit in the work area of this machine. And let's face it, I'm not ready to spend the money on a bigger one just yet. And I don't have anywhere to put a bigger one right now. So that's not really on the table. But I think by implementing this guy to do the heavy lifting when it comes to cutting and to do my acrylics and stuff like that, it will definitely allow me to take some of my projects to a new level. The fact that I can now cut clear acrylic is a game changer. I've got so many things that I want to try. I just haven't had a chance to do so. I'll get a little more time. I've got 2 events coming up this weekend. I got an event Friday night and an event Saturday. So once I get those behind me, that's going to clear up that much more time, because I am spending some time getting ready for those, building stuff to take to sell. And so hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks, I can really start utilizing this thing on some projects. I've got a couple of ideas of things that I want to do. One thing, guys, that I will tell you that I had to do about this machine, with this machine today, is I got to noticing that as the machine got over into the far right area of the workspace, I started getting like an echo, more or less. And I don't know how else to explain it. It was like a shadow and almost of the cut. And luckily, I've been watching a lot of videos. I've been trying to research these things and study these things, and I felt pretty strongly that the problem was the alignment between the second and third mirror. And so I used the old painter's tape over the lens, fired a couple of test rounds, and noticed that the laser was hitting too far to the left, like it was hitting almost on the metal. On the lens. And so I was able to calibrate that, get it lined up, and I calibrated it so that in its farthest reach, the dot is dead center of that mirror. Now, when it comes over to this way, to the left side, it does move slightly, like uphill, like that way, just a little. But it is still well within the tolerances of what the machine can do. And it's only when it's all the way over here. The further it gets, the closer to center it gets as it moves across. So, and I've heard some people say that that's a nightmare. It really wasn't that hard. It really wasn't that difficult. There is some geometry involved. When you're turning the knobs, you got to turn everything the right way. So you're going to want to take your time and make sure you're going the correct way, because if you went the wrong way, you need to correct that pretty quick. But so far, no issues with the machine, guys. The issue that I thought I had with the temperature gauge, it has either it wasn't an issue to start with, or it has remedied itself. I'm not sure which. All right, in closing, guys, I want to thank you for coming. And those of you that have subscribed, I appreciate it. I have reached the 5,000 mark before my deadline of 2023, so that's good. However, if you're watching the videos, if you like the videos, guys, hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up. And I know my channel's a little mixed up. So if you don't want to see the B stuff, or you want to see the laser stuff, go in there and you can turn off whatever you need to turn off to be able to get the content that suits you. But I appreciate the growth in the channel. It's been an experience. It's awesome. I appreciate everybody that's participated in this little adventure that we call a YouTube channel here. And I want to say thanks to my friend May May. I don't know if y'all saw the video that I did about my hometown, where I went by and visited with May May. She had a lot of ladies in from all over the country, and I kind of dropped in, spoke with them, and it was a cool experience to be able to meet people that literally drove across country or flew or whatever they did to come hang out with May May. And I was honored to have been requested to attend, And for those of you that were there, it was nice meeting you. I hate I couldn't stay longer, but unfortunately I have a lot of previous engagements, and I was working on a video for the city that night, and so I had to get into town and get that done. All right, guys, thanks for coming. That's going to be it for tonight. I'm going to go inside and call it a day. I'll be out here tomorrow. Maybe I can come up with something else, and we can see what this machine has. Might even get around to doing a little organization and cleaning so I can get some of my space back. But thanks for stopping by. And as always, have a good day.